Hello, everyone. This is William Armstrong here. I'm actually here with a simple YouTube video about news from Krebs on Security.com of an incident that where Krebs on Security got a distributed denial of service attack that was so severe that it was mitigated. But however, I'm going to read about what happened. Here we go. I'll cover this one called the Danabot malware one, but I'm going to cover the one about how the Krebs security website had a DDoS attack that was 6.3 terabytes a second. That was very large. It says your Krebs on security hit with near record 6.3 terabytes per second per DDoS terabits per second. Krebs on security last week was hit by a near record distributed denial of service DDoS attack that clocked in at more than 6.3 terabits of data per second. A terabit is 1 trillion bits of data. The brief attack appears to have been a test run for a massive new Internet of Things IoT botnet capable of launching crippling digital assaults that few web destinations can withstand. Ouch! Read on for more about the botnet, the attack, and the apparent creator of this global menace. I'll read it. For reference, the 6.3 terabits per second attack last week was 10 times the size of the assault launched against this site in 2016 by the Mirai IoT botnet, which held Krebs security offline for nearly 4 days. The 2016 assault was so large that Akamai. Note that Akamai is a network, like an internet network provider that websites can be hosted on or hosted at, and obviously Akamai, which was providing pro bono DDoS protection for Krebs and security at the time, asked me to leave their site, leave their service because the attack was causing problems for their paying customers. So Krebs and security website was on the Akamai network, and obviously the DDoS attack caused trouble for their paying customers. So Akamai asked them to leave their platform because of the attack. Since the Mirai attack, KrebsandSecurity.com has been behind the protection of Project Shield, a free DDoS defense service that Google provides to websites offering news, human rights, and election-related content. Google security engineer Damien Mincher told Krebs on Security that the May 12th attack was the largest Google has ever handled. In terms of sheer size, it is second to only a very similar attack that Cloudflare mitigated and wrote about back in April. After comparing notes with Cloudflare, Mincher that said the botnet launched attackers bears the fingerprints of a Suru, a digital seize of a machine that first surfaced less than a year ago. Mincher said the attack on Krebs on security lasted less than a minute, hurling large UDP data packets at random ports at a rate of approximately 585 million data packets per second. It was the type of attack normally designed to overwhelm network links, Mincher said, referring to the throughput connections between and among various internet service providers, ISPs. For most companies, this size of attack would kill them. There's the graph shown here. The attack only lasted for 45 seconds. That was the 6.5 terabits per second attack mitigated by Cloudflare in April 2025, or about last month, I should say last month. The Asuru botnet comprises of a globally dispersed collection of hacked IoT devices, including routers, digital video recorders, and other systems that are commanded or commandeered via default passwords or software vulnerabilities, as documented by researchers at the P and Zin X Lab. The botnet was first identified in an August 2024 attack on a large gaming platform. Asura reportedly went quiet after that exposure, only to reappear in November with even more firepower and software exploits. In a January 2025 report, XLab found the new and improved Asuru, aka Arashi, had incorporated a previously known zero-day vulnerability in Cambium Network's CN pilot routers. not forking around. The people behind their serial botnet have been peddling access to their DDoS machine and public Telegram chat channels that are closely monitored by security firms. In August 2024, the botnet was rented out on a subscription tiers ranging from $150 per day to $600 per week, offering attacks up to 2 terabits per second. Ouch! You may not attack any measurement walls, healthcare facilities, schools, or government sales, read a notice posted on Telegram by the Asuru botnet owners in August 2024. Interested parties were told to contact the Telegram handle at YFork to purchase a subscription. The account YFork previously used the nickname Forky, and identity has been posted to the public DDoS focused Telegram channel since 2021. According to the FBI, Forky's DDoS for hire domains have been seized in multiple law enforcement operations over the years. I'll explain more of this toward the end of the video a little bit. Last year, Forky said on Telegram that he was selling domain stressor.best, which is saw its server seized by the FBI in 2022 as part of an ongoing international law enforcement effort aimed at diminishing the supply of and demand for DDoS for hire services. The operator of this service, who calls himself Forky, operates a Telegram channel to advertise features and communicate with current and prospective DDoS customers, reads an FBI seizure warrant PDF issued for stressor.best. The FBI warrant stated that on the same day the seizures were announced, Forky posted a link to a story on this blog that detailed the domain seizure operation, adding the comment, "We are buying our domains right now." There's the screenshot from the FBI seizure warrant for Forky's DDoS for hire domain, shows Forky announcing the resurrection of their service at new domains. Approximately 10 hours later, Forky posted again, including a screenshot of the stressor.best user dashboard, instructing customers to use their saved passwords for the old website on the new one. A review of Forky's post to the public Telegram channels, as indexed by the cyber intelligence firm's Unit 221B and Flashpoint, reveals a 21-year-old individual who claims to reside in Brazil. Full disclosure, Flashpoint is currently an advertiser on this blog. Since late 2022, Forky's posts have frequently promoted a DDoS mitigation company and ISP that he operates called BotShield.io. The BotShield website is connected to a business entity registered in the United Kingdom called BotShield Limited, or LTD, which lists a 21-year-old woman from Sao Paulo, Brazil as a director. Internet routing records indicate BotShield AS 213613 currently controls several hundred internet addresses that were allocated to the company earlier this year. DomainTools.com reports to BotShield.io that was registered in July 2022 to a Kaiki Southier Liti in Sao Paulo. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. I'm probably butchering that name. A LinkedIn profile by the same name says that the individual is a network specialist from Brazil who works in planning and implementation of robust network infrastructures with a focus on security, DDoS mitigation, and colocation and cloud server services. Meet Forky. Forky is that's Forky, the avatar of the criminal, but this almost looks like the Toy Story character Forky. In his post to the public Telegram chat channels, Forky has hardly attempted to conceal his whereabouts or identity. In countless chat conversations indexed by Unit 221B, Forky could be seen talking about everyday life in Brazil, often remarking on extremely low or high prices in Brazil for a range of goods, from computer and networking gear to narcotics and food. Reached via Telegram, Forky claimed that he was not involved in this type of legal actions for years now, and that the project had been taken over by other unsatisfied developers. Forky initially told Krebs on security he had been out of the botnet scene for years only to concede that this wasn't true when presented with public posts on Telegram from late last year that clearly showed otherwise. Forky denied being involved in the attack on Krebs and security, but acknowledged that he helped develop and market the Asuru botnet. Forky claims he is now merely a staff member for the Asuru botnet team. and that he stopped running the botnet roughly 2 months ago after starting a family. Forkey also said the woman named as director of Bot Shield is related to him. Forkey offered e- equivocal, evasive responses to a number of questions about the Shrew botnet and his business endeavors. But on one point, he was crystal clear. I have zero fear about you, the FBI, Interpol, Forkey said, asserting that he is now almost entirely focused on their hosting business, BotShield. Forkey declined to discuss the makeup of of his ISP clientele or clarified whether BotShield was more of a hosting provider or a DDoS mitigation firm. However, Forkey has posted on Telegram about BotShield successfully mitigating large DDoS attacks launched against other DDoS for hire services. Domain Tools finds the same Sao Paulo street address in this registration record for botshield.io and was used to register several other domains, including can'tmitigate.us. The email address in the Whois records for the domain is forkcontacto@gmail.com, which Domain Tools says was used to register the domain for the now defunct DDoS for hire service stressor.us, one of the domains seized in the FBI's 2023 crackdown. On May 8, 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice announced the seizure of stressor.us along with a dozen other domains offering DDoS services. The DOJ said 10 of the 13 domains were reincarnations of services that were seized during a prior sweep in December, which targeted 40 top stressor services, also known as booters. Before I continue, stressors are a term for DDoS for hire where people use it to, or criminals use it to boot websites offline, otherwise known as booters, stressors. It's technically the same thing, just different naming. Stressors are also known as booters. It's just DDoS attacks launched against web servers to crash the server and to knock the server offline. Say that this is a web server. Say that my right hand is a web server. You have my left hand, which would be, well, this is my right hand on the video. In person, be my right hand. My left would be the right on the video. But say that this is the web server, and say that this is a criminal in this hand who wants to just bam, 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 bam. They hammer the web server with so much web traffic that the web server goes, the web server crumbles due to all that excessive traffic hurled against it, which will knock down websites offline for hours or days if traffic is bam, 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 bam. Like if a cyber criminal wants to, they can launch a DDoS attack or distributed denial service, meaning they use multiple devices all over the internet, from IoT devices to computers. They basically they do a distributed denial service attack by equally distributing their attack load on computers all over the internet to target one website with traffic from each computer on the internet against one web server. There is denial of service attack, but there's DDoS, distributed denial of service attack. Distributed denial of service attacks distribute the attack amongst each individual computer that's infected with malware to turn it into a DDoS botnet that pings one web server from different computers worldwide until the web server just crashes and goes offline. Denial of service works a bit different than that. I'll explain what that is. Give me just a sec. I should say DDoS and DOS are both the same term. Well, DOS is denial of service, but distributed denial of service is DDoS. I'll take you to here. This is an infograph on Wikipedia diagram of how the attack works. I'll show you. You'll see what I mean. I'm unable to zoom in on this image automatically, but I will show you. The attacker machine running a client program at the top of the tree here, this diagram is actually the attacker machine running a client program followed by each of the handlers. Right here, the handlers are the different machines that talk to compromised computers. They go through the internet, then down to the bottom of the tree to the targeted servers. It involves multiple computers from a client computer. So a cyber criminal will run a client program that will have a handler associated with the client program from the attacker machine. Then it will hit compromised computers all at once, and then it causes all the compromised machines to go through to the internet down to the targeted servers to crash them. Multiple computers can attack a single computer to throw them offline. That's what it is. So this is how a DDoS attack is exactly done. That the attacks are done against a computer network or against a targeted server from multiple machines at a time. Let me resize myself on the video here through OBS, and I'll show you the diagram in full. This is it. This is the actual diagram of how the DDoS attacks load. Is the attacker machine runs a client program on the attacker machine up here, but the handlers are controlled by the client program that connects to the handlers. Then the handlers talk to compromised computers on the internet. Then the compromised computers are steered through the internet traffic or steered through the internet with traffic to the targeted servers to shut them down. Right down here. That's what that is. That's what a DDoS attack technically is consisting of. I'll read the Wikipedia top half of it. You can go to wikipedia.org, en.wikipedia.org, or go to Wikipedia in your local language and type in denial of service attack, and you'll get this article here. It says here in computing, a denial of service attack, DDoS, or a DOS attack is a cyber attack in which the perpetrator seeks to make machine or network resource unavailable to its intended users by temporarily or indefinitely disrupting services of a host connected to a network. Denial of service is typically accomplished by flooding the targeted machine or resource with superfluous requests and attempt to overload systems and prevent some or all legitimate requests from being fulfilled. The range of attacks varies widely, spanning from inundating a server with millions of requests to slowest performance, overwhelming a server with a substantial amount of invalid data, to submitting requests with an illegitimate IP address. That's DOS, denial of service. The bottom one below it is called distributed denial of service attack or DDoS attack. They're technically the same. They're sort of the same thing but different. In a distributed denial of service attack or DDoS attack, the incoming traffic flooding the victim originates from many different sources. More sophisticated strategies are required to mitigate this type of attack. Simply attempting to block a single source is insufficient, as there are multiple sources. A DDoS attack is analogous to a group of people crowding the entry door of a shop, making it hard for legitimate customers to enter, thus disrupting the trade and losing the business money. Criminal perpetrators of DDoS attacks often target sites or services hosted on high-profile web servers, such as banks or credit card payment gateways. Revenge and blackmail, as well as hacktivism, can motivate these attacks. Web servers is a computer software and underlying hardware that accepts requests via HTTP. Well, it's a computer software and underlying hardware that takes a request via HTTP or its secure variant HTTPS. HTTP is Hypertext Transport Protocol. That is correct. Hypertext Transfer Protocol, I should say. Its secure variant is HTTPS, known as Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It transmits hypertext and or hyperlinks to other resources. That's the TLDR. A hyperlink, or simply a link, is a digital reference providing direct access to data by a user's clicking or tapping. A hyperlink points to a whole document or to a specific element within a document. Hypertext is text with hyperlinks. The text that is linked from is known as an anchor text. That's what that is. That's the gist of it. See, that's a Dell PowerEdge server right there. That is a server used to serve web pages or video. But servers, this one, are often used as web servers. Multiple web servers can be used for a high traffic website. Servers are computers. Dell makes PowerEdge computers that are known as servers that are used for data centers that host web pages. So, for example, YouTube, Wikipedia, Netflix, Facebook, Twitch, X, Instagram, Snapchat, all of those are services and websites hosted on data centers by the respective companies. I won't really read this article. I'll go back to the Brian Krebs article. Forkey claimed he could find out who attacked my site with a Suru, but when pressed a day later on the question, Forkey said he'd come up empty-handed. So Forkey is a criminal that that was behind stuff like this. That wasn't very bright. I tried to ask around, but all the big guys are not R-worded enough to attack you. Forkey explained in an interview on Telegram, I didn't have anything to do with it, but you are welcome to write my story and try to put the blame on me. I gotta say that Brian Krebs, a security journalist, sometimes has caught himself in the line of fire by cyber criminals, too. The Ghost of Mirai. The 6.3 terabits a second attack last week caused no visible disruption to the site, in part because it was so brief, lasting approximately 45 seconds. If it was to last longer than 45 seconds or more, Brian Krebs's online blog website would go into thin air if the attack lasted longer than 45 seconds. The site of Brian Krebs never got knocked offline last week because the attack was only 45 seconds in length. If it was above 45 seconds or longer, then the site would have been kicked offline by the attack if it persisted longer than that. DDoS attacks of such magnitude and brevity typically are produced when botnet operators wish to test or demonstrate their firepower for the benefit of potential buyers. Indeed, Google's Minsher said it was likely that both the May 12th attack and a slightly larger 6.5 terabits a second attack against Cloudflare last month were simply testing the same botnet's capabilities. In many ways, the threat posed by the Asuru Arashi botnet is reminiscent of the Mirai, an innovative IoT malware strain that emerged in the summer of 2016 and successfully outcompeted virtually all other IoT malware strains in existence at the time. As first revealed by Krebs and Security in January 2017, the Mirai authors were two U.S. men who co-ran a DDoS mitigation service, even as they were selling far more lucrative DDoS for hire services using the most powerful botnet on the planet. Less than a week after the Mirai botnet was used in a days-long DDoS against Krebs and Security, the Mirai authors published a source code to their botnet so that they would not be the only ones in possession of it in the event of their arrest by federal investigators. Ironically, the leaking of the Mirai source is precisely what led to the eventual unmasking and arrest of the Mirai authors who went on to serve probation sentences that required them to consult with the FBI investigators on DDoS investigations. But that leak also rapidly led to the creation of dozens of Mirai botnet clones, many of which were harnessed to fuel their own powerful DDoS for hire services. Mincher told Krebs and Security that, counterintuitive as it may sound, the internet as a whole would probably be better off if the source code for Asuru became public knowledge. After all, he said that the people behind Asuru are in constant competition with other IoT botnet operators who are all striving to commandeer a finite number of vulnerable IoT devices globally. Such a development would almost certainly cause a proliferation of Ansuru botnet clones, he said, but at least then the overall firepower from each individual botnet would be greatly diminished or at least within the range of the mitigation capabilities of most DDoS protection providers. Barring a source code leak, Mincher said that it would be nice if someone published the full list of software exploits being used by the Asuru operators to grow their botnet so quickly. Part of the reason Mirai was so dangerous that it effectively took out competing botnets, he said. This attack somehow managed to compromise all these boxes that nobody else knows about, and ideally we'd want to see it fragmented out so that no individual botnet operator controls too much. That is one article, one more to go, and that'll be the end of this video after that. Whoops. I meant to go back to the Krebs Security website. Here it is. Here's one more. I'll read about this one in the video. I'll explain the DDoS attack against Krebs Security's website and or the DanaBot malware devs. Oops, DanaBot malware devs protect their own PCs. Prices Right using horn. Wah 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 wah. Looks like some devs got stupid and managed to infect their own computer. Oops. Some malware devs got very stupid to infect their own PC by accident. Oops. Here's a note. Most cyber criminals that develop malware will not, I repeat, will not infect their own PC with their own malware creation. They won't. Their purpose is to infect other computers, but they won't infect their own machine if they made the malware on the exact same machine that they used to make the malware. They won't infect their own computer that they made it on. The U.S. government today unsealed criminal charges against 16 individuals accused of operating and selling DanaBot, a prolific strain of the information stealing malware that has been sold on Russian cybercrime forums since 2018. The FBI says a newer version of the DanaBot was used for espionage and that many of the defendants exposed their real life identities after accidentally infecting their own systems with the malware. This is the image of the DanaBot's features that's promoted on its support site. The image source is from WeLiveSecurity.com. Right there. Initially spotted in May 2018 by researchers at the email security firm Proofpoint, DanaBot is a malware as a service platform that specializes in credential theft and banking fraud. Today, the U.S. Department of Justice unsealed a criminal complaint and indictment from 2022, which said the FBI identified at least 40 affiliates who were paying between $3,000 and $4,000 a month for access to the information stealer platform. Before I continue, I'm going to explain the big deal. Cyber criminals write malware known as info stealer malware that steals passwords, session cookies, anything that the cyber criminals want. They'll write an info stealing malware that grabs that information off of a computer that's once been infected by it and sends it back to the attacker. The government says that the malware infected more than 3,000 systems globally, or 300 or 300,000 systems globally, causing estimated losses of more than 50 million. The ringleaders of the DanaBot conspiracy are named Alexander Stepanov, 39, aka Jim B, Jimmbee, and Artem Alexandrovich Kalinkin, Kalinkin, 34, aka Onyx, Onix, both of Novosibirsk, Russia, or Novosib- Novosibirsk, Russia. Kalinkin is an IT engineer for the Russian state-owned energy giant Gazprom. His Facebook profile name is Mafiosi. According to the FBI, there are at least two major versions of the DanaBot. The first was sold between 2018 and June 2020, where the malware stopped being offered on the Russian cybercrime forums. The government alleges that the second version of DanaBot, emerging in January 2021, was provided to co-conspirators for use in targeting military, diplomatic, and non-governmental organization computers in several countries, including the United Kingdom, United States, Belarus, Germany, and Russia. Unindicted co-conspirators would use the espionage area to compromise computers around the world and steal sensitive diplomatic communications, credentials, and other data from these targeted victims, reads a grand jury indictment dated September 20th, 2022. This stolen data included financial transactions by diplomatic staff, correspondence concerning the day-to-day diplomatic activity, as well as summaries of particular countries' interactions with the United States. The indictment says the FBI in 2022 seized servers used by the DanaBot authors to control their malware, as well as the servers that store the stolen victim data. The government said that the server data also show numerous instances in which the DanaBot defendants infected their own PCs. Oops! Resulting in their credential data being uploaded to the stolen data repositories that were seized by the feds. So the malware devs dim-wittingly and very stupidly infected their own PC with the DanaBot malware they created, and when they ran that malware on their own PC by accident, it basically managed to steal their credential data. It managed to steal their own credential data on the computer and then upload it back to the data repositories that were stolen, that were seized by the feds. Oops. In some case, in some case, in some cases, such self-infections appeared to be deliberately done in order to test, analyze, or improve the malware. The criminal complaint reads. In other cases, the infection seemed to be the inadvertent one of the hazards of committing cybercrimes, that criminals will sometimes infect themselves with their own malware by mistake. That's true. Sometimes when cyber criminals want to create malware on their own computer, they will sometimes inadvertently infect their own computer by mistake. They infect their own computer with their own malware inadvertently by doing so. That's one of the hazards of committing cybercrime in and of itself. ESET is a security firm that has ESET telemetry since 2018 of where the DanaBot's been active at. Mostly 62.8% is in a darker burgundy color, maroon color here, but in all other countries it's in a lighter shade of pink. From WeLiveSecurity.com, the image is where it's from. A settlement, or sorry, not a settlement. A statement from the DOJ says that as part of the day's operation, agents with the Defense Criminal Investigative Service, DCIS or DCIS, seized the DanaBot control servers, including dozens of virtual servers hosted in the United States. The government says it's now working with the industry partners to notify DanaBot victims and help remediate infections. The statement credits a number of security firms with providing assistance to the government, including ESET, Flashpoint, Google, Intel, 471, Lumen, PayPal, Proofpoint, Team Cymeru, and Zscaler. It's not unheard of for a financially oriented malicious software to be repurposed for espionage. A variant of the Zeus Trojan, which was used in countless online banking attacks against companies in the United States and Europe between 2007 and at least 2015, was for a time diverted to espionage tasks by its author. As detailed in his 2015 story, the author of the Zeus Trojan created a custom version of the malware to serve purely as a spying machine, which scored infected systems in Ukraine for specific keywords in emails and documents that would likely only be found in classified documents. The public charging of the 16 DanaBot defendants comes as a day after Microsoft joined a slew of tech companies in disrupting the IT infrastructure for another malware as a service offering Luma Stealer, which is likewise offered to affiliates under the tiered subscription prices ranging from $250 to $1,000 per month. Separately, Microsoft filed a civil lawsuit to seize control over 2,300 domain names used by Luma Stealer and its affiliates. There's more information on this article in the Krebs on Security website, and it was posted on Thursday, 22nd of May, 2025 at 5:53 p.m. I'm going to give you the takeaway. The takeaway is cyber criminals will go the great lengths to infect their own computer with malware as a risk of committing cybercrime. For one, two, DDoS attacks can knock web servers offline, making them unavailable for hours or days, while the latter is DOS, denial of service attack. DDoS attacks take the attack and distribute it and vary it across multiple machines instead of one machine. Basically, if a person gets a DDoS attack thrown against their web server, they won't be able to stop the attack because it's coming from it's coming from more than one machine. If the person tries to isolate one machine that's doing it, it's not enough to stop the attack, as there's multiple machines targeting the one web server from multiple machines instead of one. The denial of service attack is completely different. See earlier in the video if you want to know more, but obviously those are the two differences between a DDoS and DOS attack. One of them involves distributing across multiple computers to hit one website to the target machine. The latter is completely different. I done forgot. Oops. Let me just simply go back to the Wikipedia thing. This is it. As like I said, that this is exactly what I'm talking about. The top one, it's used to make a machine or a network resource unavailable to its users by temporarily or indefinitely disrupting services of a host connected to a network. The bottom one is that the incoming traffic flooding the victim originates from many different sources. Hard to tell where it's coming from. More sophisticated techniques and strategies are required to mitigate this type of attack. So there you go. So this is the explanation I read. And this is William Armstrong signing out. See you next time. Bye bye.